Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarrett Patton.
Welcome to episode 205 of License to Live. My name is Dr. Jarrett Patton, and I'm your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Just go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe. And when I say dissed, you know what I mean. I mean displaced, disgruntled, disenfranchised, dissatisfied. You know how it goes. And today, we're going to be talking about cancel culture. You guys have heard it. People are getting canceled. People are particularly getting canceled today. And, well, of course, fire starters, you're at risk for being canceled too. That's why we're talking about it. I was on the internet last week and ran across a post from Dr. Pamela Weibel. She's a friend of the show. She is a suicide expert, suicidologist, she calls herself, particularly when it involves physicians, residents, medical students. And as a friend of the show, she actually granted an interview back in episode 65. So she has a lot to say about this. But she had this post where she was basically giving real cases of how good doctors end up in prison. And she had a list of, about a dozen or so real life doctors who ran into some different legal troubles. And all of these cases, many like the ones that reach out to me, said, hey, I didn't even know I was doing anything wrong until people barged into my office or my house or something like this. And it's usually just doing simple things that occur as a doctor. So heaven forbid any of you guys face jail time or go to jail time, especially if you're a physician, because this is the time where not only you get canceled, it may be hard for you to ever make a comeback. But we're going to explore this topic of cancel culture and how it relates to you. And if you get canceled or under threat of being canceled, we'll give you some tips to get out of it and get on with your life. And we're going to get to the rest of the show right after we finish thanking our sponsors.
The time is now to refresh your career. We help doctors, lawyers, executives, and VIPs refresh and restart. Dr. Jarrett's coaching helps you build confidence, gain more credibility, develop more leadership skills, and gain clarity in your career path. Want to climb the executive ladder or branch out on your own? We'll put your career in overdrive. Visit drjarrett.com and sign up for your free strategy session.
Hey guys, this is Janae Noonan, and I'm here with Dr. Jarrett on License to Live. Hit the subscribe, follow the journey. Let's go.
Something smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than it in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. EH3 coffee.
Anytime you want to reach out to me, time with Dr. Jarrett. Hit me up on social media at Dr. Jarrett. Spell out the word Dr. J-A, 2 R's, E-1-T. That's how I found this original post from Dr. Weibel as it is, because I do hang out on social media there, and particularly LinkedIn. But let's talk about this list of people she put up there as examples, and they're common examples and they're sad examples. But let's take a look at what cancel culture looks like in the medical field. In healthcare at its core, the cancel culture refers to the act of withdrawing support from a person or thing or program, after something controversial may have happened, something they did, something they said, something that was perceived, something different. And for physicians, cancel culture can obviously have a much more serious impact, whether it comes down from, a single comment made on social media, or perhaps you were dancing around in the OR too much with one of your patients asleep and violated some HIPAA policies. Any of these things, which can obviously lead to professional consequences, such as your license being placed under suspension or some other disciplinary action. You may lose your patients or even get your DEA license revoked. But whether it was a misstep in communication, a poorly chosen word during an interview, even a disagreement about health policies, the stakes are very high. And I want you to understand why physicians are a little bit more vulnerable to this cancel culture, because obviously we work in an environment and live in an environment where you shoot first and ask questions later. Many of you guys who have read my book, License to Live, A Primer to Rebuilding Your Life After Your Career is Shattered, it won, I won an Author of the Year award. It's been on the #1 bestseller through Amazon. And I was telling part of my story on how I got canceled, because in medicine, it's a shoot first and ask questions later. Those people come knocking, taking your licenses, taking your DEA, taking your certifications, and taking all of that stuff first. So unlike, our justice system where there's, allegedly presumed innocence before guilt, in this medical area, there is a lot of time the penalties are made up front. And that's exactly what happened to me. All my things were taken away over some simple false allegations. And, the medical boards, the prosecuting attorneys, everybody had to look at all this stuff and said, oh, well, maybe he's a danger to society. We have to penalize him first, only to go through an entire trial process that said, yes, your innocence is maintained. Sorry. All that stuff happened to you, and maybe you'll never be able to get a job again, and all of these things happen. But yes, physicians become more vulnerable. And it can be something even on a simpler. We can look at things going on in Washington where there may be doctors who are voting on health policy. There are some people, who aren't doctors in charge of health policy, and people can say what they want. Maybe they can say what they mean. And I'll give another example. This happened on my Who's Badass Kids Are Those podcast. I only give that one on Facebook, so you don't go looking it up and changing from this one. But often, especially in the summer season, I talk about Lyme disease and how to prevent ticks getting on you, and how to identify Lyme disease. And if you get it, what are some of the treatments and why you need to go see a doctor? Simple, basic stuff, well, scientific supported. Well, the first time I gave this topic, I had no idea there was such a large pseudoscience population about Lyme. And I'm just giving what I thought were sound, solid advice and scientific facts. And people went off on me. They started, bullying me and making posts and talk about, you don't know what you're talking about. Lyme has changed my life. I don't know any of these people. But I said, what did I do? I'm just talking about trying to prevent ticks and keep your kids healthy this summer. But these things can get the public or a segment of the public up in arms right away. And unfortunately, that public scrutiny remains especially intense in our shortened media cycle, our intense social media driven world where, let's frankly state it, misinformation spreads faster than the truth out there. And it may be coming from, people who are high up in the government. It may be coming from, people who have a large platform, but these mainstream narratives can quickly be labeled as wrong or dangerous. And that's what gets you canceled. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how the impact of this cancel culture can remain a large stain on many physicians' careers. Just like Dr. Weibel, the suicidologist, she had a list of a dozen, and I'm sure she has scores more of examples of people. And I could add a couple more dozen of people that I've personally talked to in some of these situations. And when you face cancellation, whether it's something formal like losing your medical staff privileges or maybe even losing your medical license, the consequences can be far-reaching because in addition to the public backlash and the media chasing you around, there's a real possibility of losing patients, seeing a decline in trust, even in your colleagues, and facing legal or professional repercussions. So let's look at each of these impacts. And we're looking at the loss of patient trust because this trust is perceived any kind of way. And so whether somebody sees you say something on social media they don't like, whether they are trying to follow you and they said that you did something wrong or maybe had a bad medical outcome, this trust tends to erode. And particularly when it's not only maybe your patients or your colleagues, maybe even your friends or people who you thought were your friends get out there and you start to have this professional isolation because let's face it, the medical community, while it can be generally supportive, it can be very quick to distance itself from anyone who is perceived controversial. I mean, I can think back to my experience in as many doctors as I knew, as many people that I had worked with. A lot of people just had to turn their back and just say, okay, well, the police are involved. We got to let the process go through and left it like that. So you do feel isolated. And of course, we'll talk about the legal and maybe even ethical repercussions, because depending on the nature of this controversy, you may very well face investigations by your medical staff, your hospitals, your medical group, your state medical board, your city or county public health office, all types of regulatory bodies, including the DEA, and frankly, anybody who certifies us, including your board certification. Your board certification can become at risk for making a social media snafu. If it's something that is serious enough and maybe your license becomes in jeopardy, that board certification you've worked so hard to maintain can suddenly be away. And then finally, the strain on you going through all of this. And trust me, reach out to Dr. Weibel, reach out to me if you guys are struggling. And if you're in a crisis right now, please just call 988 and get some help, because the burnout after an event like this, the strain on your mental health, the strain on your physical health can be great. And being under that pressure of being publicly criticized, whether through the television mainstream media or whether it is through social media chastising, especially when it feels unjust to you, because as we said it right up from the front, a lot of times in healthcare, people shoot first and ask questions later. They may leave you dead on the floor. And find out, oh, wait, this didn't happen, or it didn't go this way, or actually this guy was just as great as we always thought. But there you are, laying in a pool of blood on the floor, dying because they can't undo all of those other impacts that we had. So the biggest thing that you can do, and this is what Dr. Weibel urges people all the time, the biggest thing you can do is to make sure you are taking care of yourself when you're feeling those symptoms of burnout or anxiety or depression, or maybe even something worse. Reach out to those who are close to you, reach out to those who have been with you through the time. And if not, reach out to me. People have reached out to me in the middle of their crisis, and I may not be able to coach them or they become my client on this way, but I sure am going to help you get out of that crisis and make sure you're okay. So knowing that this impact can be so great, I'm going to tell all of you guys to make sure you're taking care of yourselves, even more so during this, because many of you guys may be facing very long-term battles out there. Now that we've completely looked at the cancel culture, how did it happen? Why is it so severe on physicians? I will give you some steps on how to bounce back from a canceled event or you being canceled right after we finish thanking our sponsor. Hey, this is Dr. Jarrett Patton. Do you need more positivity in your life? No matter what part of your life you want to transform, positive affirmations can help you achieve your goals. But sometimes making permanent changes can be difficult. Designed with you in mind, Licensed to Live, daily affirmations to rebuild your life will inspire and equip you to become the best version of yourself. Licensed to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will set you on the path to changing your mindset, beliefs, speech, and ultimately your actions. You can change your life now by getting your copy at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your finer book retails, or licensedtolive.com. That's licensedtolive.com. Let me tell you guys about a new book that I'm working on. And as soon as I get the publishing deal, I will let you know immediately. However, we are talking about a wonderful VIP lifestyle. We're giving all the secrets of the VIP lifestyle. And it's not how to live rich and famous. I'm not talking about private jets and yachts. And well, yes, all of that can become a part of the VIP lifestyle, especially if you live the VIP life the way we outlined it in this book, living with intention and living with purpose. And we outline throughout this book all of these VIP principles that will help you live your best life, your VIP life now. So I'm not even selling pre-sales now or anything like that, but I just wanted to let you guys know, as you may buy the affirmations book and get through that and have a much positive outlook on your life, you actually are going to have another book coming soon, probably in early 2026. Now, what are the steps that you can do in order to bounce back from the cancel culture as a physician? Feels like your career, your reputation, and all of the things you've worked so hard for have come falling down now. And now you've been faced with this adversity. And where do you go? So the first thing is you must acknowledge the situation. You can't just bury your head in the sand and ignore it and hope all of this will blow away. Now, truth be told, the news cycle, if you're involved in the media like I was, the news cycle can be relatively quickly. So it may only be a 24 hours you'll be on television, or maybe you'll be in a newspaper article or two. And that may go away, but the social media stuff may live on for a little bit longer. So listen, don't hide from it. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Simply address it in a calm and measured way and be honest about your own role in what happened. Make sure you're looking at it from all purposes so that you can acknowledge this situation and know exactly what happened. And many times it has nothing to do with what you did. It has everything to do with somebody else did to you. And well, you have to tell that story too, because some of these people on this list were victims of people billing things that they didn't bill in their name, and people can get a hold of your NPI numbers and do all types of stuff all the time. You don't even know this stuff has happened, but because your name is attached to the number, you go to jail. The second thing I want you to do is make an apology. Find a way to apologize, whether it's to the individual, the social media community at large. If you made a mistake, this is the time to take responsibility for it. Be sincere. Don't try to make excuses. Don't try to shift the blame. Don't try to even change the subject on people. But simple act of making an apology, even if it's a public apology, it shows that you have an awareness that something went wrong and maybe there is an adverse effect on someone or a group of people, and you're making amends and trying to recover and get better from this. The third thing is exactly that. Demonstrate your growth in this situation. If it was something you were, directly responsible for, show how this situation allowed for you to have both personal growth and professional growth. Attend trainings, engage with experts, and even publicly share the steps you're taking to improve. This is where people can watch you on social media making a change for your life. So, for example, if you made an insensitive comment on social media and you got a lot of backlash, you may even talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion training to publicly commit to understanding how things went wrong and how you can be a part of fixing the problem in the future. That's going to be huge for you. Number 4, stay consistent. Understand that rebuilding takes some time. It doesn't just happen as quickly as you were destroyed. You can't just apologize and things get right back to where they used to be and we're right back on the train, just like things were yesterday. However, know with time and staying consistent in your actions, showing everyone that you've learned from this issue, you can rebuild your relationships one action at a time. And, at some level, whether you stay in healthcare or you move into maybe quasi healthcare, or maybe you're getting completely out of healthcare and doing something else. I know after these events, a lot of times, right or wrong, good or bad, people look for a break and said, I can't do this anymore. I can't go back to this if all it takes is a simple flip of a switch and everything starts crumbling down. So know that it takes some time and just stay consistent. And this 5th step is probably the most important step, because this is where you need to seek support. You need to seek help. And it could come in the team of getting a legal team. If you're in some sort of legal battle or being prosecuted for something, make sure you get a strong legal team, because that's one of the things that can prevent you. You probably still initially get canceled, but a legal team can help explain your rights and guide you through this process. Because, well, if you went to medical school, 99% of you didn't go to law school as well. So, or 99.9% of you probably. But the process of itself can be emotionally and physically exhausting. So it's important to seek support. So this is the time when you get everybody on board. So whether it's a mentor like Dr. Weibel or myself, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a friend or family member or even a colleague that you trust and that you're able to talk to, because having anyone that you can have to help talk you through this process and navigate this process is essential. because as isolating as cancel culture can feel, you certainly don't have to go through it alone. And most of us who have been through an episode of being canceled in our life for one reason or another, we are living testaments that you can move on, you can do better things, and you can reach even greater heights. And I'm talking to all the fire starters, but particularly the physicians out there. We hold the well-being of others in our hands, and that just comes with the responsibility of what we do as physicians. But it also serves as a time to be mindful how our words and actions can affect people around us. So if you find yourself in the middle of a cancel cultural storm, remember, it's not the end of your journey. It's only a detour. It's an opportunity to learn, grow, and come back better and stronger than ever. And on that note, I'll see you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarrett's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.